Hello everyone, welcome back to Go Feed Yourself, the channel where you can learn how to cook something delicious to feed yourself and your loved ones. I'm making a pork cottage pie with French herbs today. I'm also going to be making a side of garlic broccoli. All the ingredients that I'm using today cost roughly around $7. I'll be using a bay leaf, and since this is ground pork I'm using, I do want to add quite a bit of spices and herbs, so I'll be using garlic powder as well as fresh garlic and herb de Provence. This head of broccoli was under $2 and it's going to make a great side with the fresh garlic. I have 1 pound of ground pork that I defrosted from my freezer. This is what the pack looks like, and this is from Wild Fork. This was only $3.50. Everything at Wild Fork comes frozen, and that's why it's a bit cheaper, but I don't mind having frozen items on hand. Even though I'm using fresh onion, I'm also going to use some dried onion flakes because I like the flavors that it adds, and I love extra flavors when I'm using pork. And here I have 3 cups of plain cooked mashed potatoes. I used 5 white potatoes, medium-sized. In a hot non-stick skillet on medium-high, I'm adding this ground pork. I should mention it is lean ground pork. I like to use a potato masher to mash my ground meats, and I just want to get this to a nice consistency. I'll let it cook for a bit, and then I'll break it apart even further. I chopped my onion and garlic while the meat was cooking. Time to add the onion, and I'm going to get my carrots prepped while this is cooking. I'm adding 1 clove of chopped garlic. There are many versions of cottage pies or shepherd pies where ground turkey or ground chicken, ground beef, and ground lamb can be used as well. So if you don't eat pork, you don't have to use pork. You could also use a veggie ground if you are a vegetarian. I added my bay leaf and my chopped carrots. Let's give this a stir. The bay leaf just adds such a nice fragrance to this pork meat. I'm going to cook this for a few minutes so the carrots can soften up. Time to add the dried herbs and spices. I add black pepper, salt to taste, garlic powder, and also the herb de Provence. I do like using a lot of herbs and spices with the ground pork because it just makes it so much more flavorful. It's time to turn this into a filling, so we'll start by adding 2 heaping tablespoons of flour and get everything nicely coated. Once the flour has been cooked in, I add a little bit of water. I'm just free pouring. I just want a little bit to start the paste forming. It's like turning this into gravy. So this is going to thicken up nicely so our filling stays together and isn't too runny. Once that water is absorbed, I'm adding more as I go so I can really get this to the texture that I want it to be. I will let this cook for a few minutes until it's nice and bubbly, and then I'm going to add a bit more water. and I'm just giving it a taste. You can see all the herbs and spices floating at the top as well. I'm going to cover this and let it cook for about 5 to 7 minutes on medium-high. At this point, all the veggies should be completely cooked and softened. And then I'll do one more taste test to make sure it's salty enough. The salt context changes because I did add water to it several times. So I'm adding a little bit more salt and I'm happy with the flavors. So I'm just going to show you guys the texture of this. You could serve this over rice or pasta even, or you could serve this with some nice toast. It's like a rich meat gravy, but it will thicken up as I let it cool. Time to add the peas and mix it in, and then I'm going to turn the heat off because these peas don't need cooking for long, and it will cook when it's in the oven as well. Now it's time to get the potatoes ready for the pie. So this is cold, plain mashed potatoes that's just salted. I'm adding about a 1/4 cup of cream, and I'm just going to let this heat up slowly. And then once it's heated through, I'm going to give it a mix. I'm adding a piece of butter to this. It's about 2 tablespoons, just some cold butter that's in the fridge. You could do this in a microwave if you use a microwave. I don't have a microwave, so that's why I just heat everything up on my stove. Once fully heated through, we are ready to assemble the pie. Here we have our mashed potato and our filling. The skillet I used to cook this filling is oven safe, so I'm going to be using this. I'm just adding my potatoes to the top of the filling, and I want to just try to cover all of the surface, and then I'm going to just gently spread it so it distributes somewhat evenly. You want to try and keep the filling below the potato and not mix it into the potato, so a spatula is good for using to just smooth everything out. Using a large fork, I'm going to add some score marks to the surface of the potatoes. This is going to add texture, and it's going to become nice and crispy at the top. I preheated my oven to 400 degrees, and I'm going to place this on the middle rack and bake it. After about 10 minutes of cooking, you can see the filling is bubbling up, so I'm going to broil the top for about 5 to 7 minutes. I removed it from the oven once it got to the color that I liked, and now it's time to just let it cool. I'm just going to make a simple side of garlic broccoli to go with this. So I have a nonstick pan on medium heat, and I'm heating the garlic with the olive oil. I use 2 cloves of garlic, and I'm just going to give this a stir. I don't want it to get too brown. Once it does have a bit of color, I'm going to add my broccoli florets. I'm adding a little bit of water to this, not too much, maybe like 1/3 of a cup max. And then I'm just going to add salt to taste, mix everything together. This water is going to help the broccoli steam, and this takes about 5 minutes to cook. I don't like soggy, squishy broccoli, so I'm going to turn the heat up to medium-high and just cover this, cook it for about 3 minutes. It's nice and steamy in here. I'm just going to stir this around for a bit more so it's cooked evenly. And then I'm just going to put the lid back on and turn the heat off. After another couple minutes, the broccoli's done and it's fork tender, so I'm going to get this ready to be served up with our cottage pie. Let's serve some up. This is an ultimate comfort food. My husband and my daughter loves this. You could serve this with whatever side of veggie you like. Some steamed carrots, some sauteed spinach or greens. Time to taste. It's steaming hot. And it smells incredible from all the herbs and spices that I used so generously. This was very delicious and satisfying. Give this recipe a try. Thanks for watching.